Guys and dolls, so got a wee video for you. Haven't done this for a wee while because I've been doing lives and jumping about, and I do miss bringing you information. So, and yeah, I think this is an important one. I'm going to put the link in the description. I'll put a wee screenshot up for those that can't hit the link, so you can just copy down, pause the video, copy what's underneath the screenshot, put it into your YouTube, and watch this. So I will jump in the middle, and I will put my tuppence in. Like I say, stuff that I talk about, stuff that I'm warning about, and it's just good to get that wee bit of confirmation that Freedom Dad, you're right, and you've always been right. Let's get into it.
That institutions make people, and that they can socially engineer people, and that, if you give people, Western liberalism and this package of values that we have, that all of these differences will basically disappear, and people are basically, fungible, interchangeable units. And I'd say it's much more that the people make the institutions. And so we should be very careful when we do something like, embark on an experiment of mass immigration that will fundamentally change the demographic character of our people. And, I think Ireland is so far behind on this in some ways. We're really sleepwalking into a crisis because although this is a very controversial thing to say here now, just to profess nationalism openly, if you look at the continent, the conversation is really changing. I mean, just recently, Keir Starmer, who would have ever thought that it would be a Labour Prime Minister to come out and say this, but he said that the open borders experiment, as he called it, is making the UK an island of strangers. And even in places, traditional social democracies like Denmark, is currently experimenting with remigration. They've left the European Council on Human Rights. And that's not because they were taken over by far-right ideologues. It's very interesting in that case. They have a left-wing social democratic government. And what's also interesting is they actually don't really have a far right. They don't have street protests or this great kind of division we're
They're
starting to see
people,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, and the reason for that, it's very interesting actually. I think the BBC profiled it in a recent documentary. They asked the politicians, well, why don't you have these problems? And they said, well, we noticed people were getting a bit upset about immigration. So, the kind of the Scandinavian mind, they decided to look at this and just look at the data and take a very scientific approach. And what they realized is that, yes, mass immigration has created parallel societies. There's a very interesting statistic in that regard. And I think this gets to what you're talking about in the introduction there of fundamental differences between people. That isn't about any kind of supremacy or hate, but just a recognition of incompatibilities, which is in Denmark. Migrants take far more cash welfare benefits than natives. And that's true in most European countries. But
I've got it at 1.5 billion, 1.5 billion a month, or thereabouts, on social benefits and stuff like that going towards foreigners, whether they are nice citizens or whatever, first, second generation. That's the figures, guys. You know what I mean? It's a lot of dough. An awful lot of dough, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The money that we are forking out because of mass immigration is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and it's money we could have used for our children, for our elderly, and for our disabled, and for our mental health. That would have helped us as a society, would have helped families deal with the mental health that's suffered in some of the working class areas today that we see all over Ireland and Great Britain, so it's a crime. I'm not going to say it's a shame, it's an absolute crime what these men have done to our countries, and without a doubt there needs to be repercussions. They need to be held accountable for what they've done. When we see the front bench, the faces of all them women who decided they voted against a national grooming inquiry of the rape of our children. You look at them and you think, how dare you? How dare you sit there in power with all that money, all that responsibility, and not protect our own children, but protect minorities because you expect them to vote for you. This is where we're at. This is what our government are doing. They're selling our kids. They're selling our kids safety for votes. Let's carry on.
The interesting thing is Denmark, taking this scientific approach, actually decided to collect crime data, welfare data on first, second, and third generation immigrants. And they actually find that the second and third generation immigrants, who you would expect to be quite well integrated into Danish society, they've lived their whole lives in Denmark, they actually take more welfare than the first generation immigrants. And they actually have higher crime rates as well. I mean, the one statistic that stood out is the second, third generation immigrants have a murder rate that's 805% times the native population, and about double, say, their parents' generation.
So, some shocking facts. I'm not going to roll with this anymore. I want you to go and watch the video, guys. I don't know what to say. I'm a wee bit, what you got to remember is our government know this. You guys in Ireland, your government know this. The British government know this, And, when we see men, women, kids on the street in Ballymena and other parts of Northern Ireland, you surely understand the fear that they have and the push that drives, what drives them. The government keeps saying far right and racist, and we keep on saying we're not far right and racist. We just want to protect our kids, but a lot of people don't have the data. They don't know exactly what's going on, and people watching us that are living in leafy suburbs and people sitting in the comfort of their homes in nice areas where they don't have any immigration. The people standing at the side of the streets, counter demonstrating against the guys in Ireland and the guys in Northern Ireland, they don't understand. They don't know none of this. They don't see what we see. They don't know what's coming because they're safe right now. It's not on their doorstep. It's like a tsunami coming and everybody can see it but them, and it's really sad. This what they're doing to us is one of the saddest things that will ever go down in history. I've said this in my videos before. There's nothing worse than this. We've had wars. We've had the Gulf War. We've had the Falkland Wars. We've had our own problems with sexual offences against children going back into children's homes and other homes around Ireland and Northern Ireland. And, it's not new to us. Childhood abuse is not new to us. But this is different. This is mass. This is on another level. These are hundreds of thousands of children who have been affected by mass immigration. A mass immigration that we're told is good for us. Diversity is good. What harm can it be? You're just racist if you don't want it. So you see, guys like me, the guys that you see on the streets, the other YouTubers and TikTokers, the girls that are doing the Time to Rise, Stephen, Northern Ireland Disgruntled, one, and other guys, they're out there doing what they can to prevent what's coming. You've got to understand, you've got to get behind these people. You do have to support everybody that is supporting you and your children and your family and your country, because this isn't just about our children. Our children will be the first wave. The second wave will be our murals, our bonfires, our 12th of Julys, and all your traditions and cultures on both sides of the fences, both Catholic and Protestant. Eventually they will go. Our culture, our traditions will be replaced because they will be offending people that have come into our country and changed it in a direction and in a way that none of us really can understand, because we won't be here to see it. And maybe our kids won't be here to see it, maybe our grandchildren, but it doesn't matter if it's our great-great-great-grandchildren. It's down to us to stop it. It's down to us to come together as communities, as concerned parents, and tell our government enough is enough, peacefully, with no violence, and try and remove these bad people that have taken power in our country, who are being controlled by somebody above that's completely controlling all this that we see. And it is difficult because we know there is good refugees, there's good immigrants, we have economic immigrants that come in and work really hard and pay into society, and they integrate. But the problem is that we have now is we can't tell good from bad, and we need to take stock of who we've got in and how we're going to go forward with immigration on a whole. I'm going to put it up right now. So there it is. Just pause your TV, write it down. If you can't hit the link in the description, that's your way to watch this video. Give it a watch, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and give it a share. We support everybody and anyone who is fighting for our country and our children. I'm Freedom Dad. God bless.